In this quick tutorial, I'm going to use motion with Illustrator and Pixelmator Pro to blow something up into pieces. Now, the thing I'm going to blow up today here in Illustrator is some text, but this will work with any element. Now, I've got my text here. You can see it's just the word destruction, and I'm going to grab the pencil tool and I'm going to scribble all over my text. Now, you can make this line however you want. If you want to use something more complicated, you can, but it has to be a real vector line at the end of the day. Now, I've got my line. You can see that a little bit more clearly if we, put something on there like making it white. Then you can see there that's where all the lines are going to be. Now, I'm going to take the text destruction and I'm going to turn that into outlines, Command-Shift-O. I'm going to take the group which that outlines process made and turn it into a compound path, Command-8, and I'm going to get the color back like so. Now I've got two single elements, the path and the compound path. I'm going to use the Pathfinder panel and use divide. And that is going to break up the text. Remember, this could happen with any element, but it breaks it up into all of these separate little shards, which we can then explode. Now, I'm going to do export as, because I want this to be an SVG file. Now, why an SVG? Because an SVG can be opened in Pixelmator Pro. So I'm going to head to the Finder. I'm going to bring that thing over. I'm going to find my SVG and drag it straight down to Pixelmator Pro. You can see all the separate paths here do exist at this point, and I'm not going to do anything else here. I'm just going to export it directly to a motion project. Now let's throw it in the right place. Destruction text, pick your frame rate, pick the duration, hit go, and that's all we need from that. I've got a folder here now, destruction text and a motion file. Now, I'll bring that over from my other screen. There's destruction. Now, what do we need to do? Head to our project, head to our inspector, head to properties, and make sure we pick some resolution that we actually want to use. Also a good idea to stick the group roughly in the middle of the screen, and if you don't need the safe zones, let's ditch them. There we go, right in the middle of the screen. Now I'm going to turn this group into 3D because I want to have fun in 3D with this. And what I want to do is just create an element that I can use to punch through things. So just a little circle there will be fine. And I'm going to throw it outside the group to turn it into a circle in its own group. Now, I could use any element for this. I'm going to hide this at the end of the day, so I don't really care what it looks like. Now, if I position that, say, there, and I can look at the properties, I've got position in X and Y, and if I open it out, I see Z or Z right there. So what can I do with this circle? Well, I want to throw this thing around. Now, there's a few ways to do that. You can do things manually by dragging on these values and setting keyframes. So I might have this one a little bit closer to the screen, and maybe I'm going to right-click and add a parameter behavior. And then I'll crank that up. I want a big negative value in this case, because negative values fly into the screen in motion, and that's going to chuck that into the screen nicely. Cool. Now, this group of things, how do I move all these little pieces away? And remember, they are all these little pieces here. How do I move that away from the circle? I need a behavior. It's a simulation. It is repel from. Now, when you add repel from, you definitely want to tick affect subobjects. And of course, we're going to push them away from the circle. Now, that circle is flying into the screen, and it is absolutely going to massacre the text. Cool. Now, when I've got it about there, I want a slightly different effect. I want to include Z or Z so that Z becomes more important, and it's only going to break the text apart when it actually gets close, like that. Now, I don't want a massive influence like that. I want kind of more of a targeted hit. So I'm going to turn the influence down. And when I turn the influence down, it means that it only breaks apart when it's a lot closer. Now, if you can't really see or visualize this 3D space, go ahead and make a camera. And then you can spin this around to see where things really are happening. So now we've got that circle coming in. And I think that's still way too much influence. So I'm going to crank the influence way down so that it doesn't do anything just yet. I'm just dragging on the numbers here. Cool. Now that's pretty good. So it's only really affecting it when it gets really close. And you can have a look from the side if you need to. There we go. That's pretty cool. So influence maybe down a little bit, but I'm going to crank up the strength. So those things that are being affected are being pushed further. So now when it comes in, it's being absolutely thrown away like that. Now, obviously the joy of these simulation behaviors is that you don't need to keyframe anything. I have not made a single keyframe in this whole animation. Now, I can add another behavior here, which is something I do want to do. It's a simulation, align to motion simulation. Now, when I add that one in, and I do want to affect subobjects, it means that all these little shards are now going to spin according to the direction they're moving in. Now I'm going to bring my camera back around just a bit so I can see what's going on here. Now, if you look at that in detail, you can see it's not 100% realistic, and absolutely you could turn the influence down just a little bit more and maybe strength a little bit up just to really crank that effect. But when this is in motion, you just don't see it. That looks awesome. Now, if you want, you could duplicate the circle like this. You could duplicate the repel from and have the second repel from working on the circle copy. Now, that circle copy, you could move to a different spot. Let's say I move this across in X. And I think I want to have that at the same point in time, but I think my first circle needs to happen earlier. So I'm just going to drag it back in time. So it's got a bit more ramp and it'll land first. Now, obviously, this technique is really flexible. You can do a lot with it. You can blow apart anything you like. And obviously, there are camera behaviors as well. So I could, sweep this camera around from its current position. Yeah, 0. Let's start this at a negative number and end up at a positive number. So now, again, without a single keyframe, we've got a circle and another circle blowing apart the text. And of course, you can just turn these circles off. The behavior, the repel from, in each case, is still going to work. You don't actually have to have these things visible. Now, you could set the opacity down to 0 as well, and that might be a better solution sometimes. But hey, this is pretty fun for 0 keyframes and playing back in real time on this MacBook Pro M1 Max. Cool, hope you liked it. If you want to learn more about Motion or Final Cut Pro, then you can check out one of my online tutorials, say from macprovideo.com, or you can read my book, Final Cut Pro Efficient Editing, available at Amazon or fcpefficientediting.com. Cool, hope that helps. See you on the next one. Bye.